Okay, so we are live. Welcome to Vantage Point Conversations. It's something now I'm labeling because I got some advice the other day that I should actually try and brand these conversations. So trying to do that. So welcome to the audience. Welcome those joining us live. Welcome for those watching us on the replay. Today, my guest is James Kellock. Am I pronouncing it?
Kellock, but that's fine.
Kellock. Okay.
It's better than the cereal brand, so that's fine.
Yeah. So my opening monologue is always the same, James. I never, ever introduce my guest because I will do a very bad job of it. And so I just ask you to introduce yourself, who you are, maybe a bit of background, any context you think would be useful for the listeners for today's conversation. And then we jump off from
there. Yeah, sure. So thanks, Colin, for asking me to come on here. It's James Kellock, not James Kellogg. Unfortunately, I left that name behind at school. And I'm based in the southwest of the UK, just outside Bath. For anyone who's outside the UK, that's basically the closest they'll probably know. It's probably near London for the American viewers. So what I'm doing at the moment is I've had 15, 16 maybe years in corporate sales, working with some of the big beasts in technology. And I had a break and I wanted to take this opportunity to start spreading some kindness into the world and a bit of compassion into the world. Father of 3 kids, fed up with seeing the constant challenges of telling them the world's okay when they're bombarded with social media streams and things like that, and kids seeing this on TikTok and Instagram and stuff like that. And I just kind of thought, well, I'm in the position of I either sit there and join the problem, or I stand up and fight and create a solution. So sort of had a brainwave and created the All We Can Foundation, which is still in its infancy of being accepted and going through all the charitable commission rights and regulations. But it's been a fun process, and it's not held me back trying to start sharing and inspiring, hopefully, more kindness. And then on the back of that, I've started building a software brand, which is establishing around social impact with kindness again in its core. So that will play through everything we do at RippleCore, and promoting kindness into corporates as well as into communities, businesses, schools, and individuals. So that's where I am today. Amazing.
So there's a few things I want to sort of say just before we jump into the conversation. First of all, you came highly recommended from Sally Stockriser, who I had a live with last week. And the reason we're actually in contact and that we actually were able to move this quickly is because of that introduction from Sally, but also from you. And you said, yeah, absolutely, I'm going to do a live. So thank you to Sally, but also thank you very much to you for showing up for me today. The second thing, so I posted this event yesterday on LinkedIn, and you reposted it. Now, the flood of support that has come in from people, and not just likes, but genuine comments, was outstanding for me. And that already says a hell of a lot, because that doesn't happen often. It's starting to happen a bit more, but oftentimes people like and they say, yeah, oh, good. But the genuine comments from people about you, about the conversation, was outstanding. And it gave me goosebumps. And I know that you're doing something that impacts a lot of people, and people are behind you and support you, not just what you're doing, but who you are. So I haven't seen it that often, but it was really quite eye-opening to me. So if you take anything away from this conversation, for you, James, that you must know that you are really well supported, and that there's a lot of people behind you, and a lot of people genuinely care about you and your conversations and what you're doing. So that's amazing. And for anyone watching, go and follow James, because what he's building, he showed me the other day, and hopefully we have a moment or two just to go over to see the platform that you're building, because that, again, when you showed it to me, it almost made me cry. And that's a very hard thing to do, because I have this if you want to go and have this conversation with Sally about emotions, etc., for me, it isn't something that comes up naturally. But when you showed it to me, and the visual effects of what you're actually building really stood out, and it moved me to the point where I was almost crying. So it's a lot of pressure there to put on your shoulders. I understand that, but I think it's absolutely amazing, absolutely fantastic. And so I'm very grateful actually to you coming on here and showing what you're doing, because I think the world does need more of what you're doing. And I know I'm alluding, and we'll get into the conversation, but I strongly believe exactly the same as you. So I'm not a consumer of news anymore. I can't remember if I mentioned this in our chat earlier this week, but I used to get the Evening Standard newspaper when I worked in London, and basically it was all about gangs, all about stabbings in London, etc. And it was looking at, it sort of highlighted a sort of ethnic groups and colors and races. And I started to be scared. I started to be scared of running into youngsters, and I realized that I was heavily influenced by what I was reading. And from that point, I stopped taking the newspaper. And this isn't a call out to the Evening Standard, it's news in general. That sensationalizing, negativity, etc., really impacted my mood. And I realized that I wasn't going to consume news. And that's quite easy to do if you're aware of not doing it. So I don't pick up papers. I don't really consume a lot. When I find that when I do, my mood shifts. So I think we have to combat that quite heavily. And interestingly enough, the conversation I'd had with Sally last week, she said our minds are designed to look at the negative. That's why, to protect us, etc. So we have to go even further to look at the positive. And what you're doing and how you're doing it is amazing. And I think that there's so much value in it. You mentioned social media, and again, I'm not here to beat up social media. The fact that we're actually having this conversation is because we met through Sally, through social media, etc. And I think there is some good about that, but also that world is controlled, but not controlled as much, to allow that information in. And spreading that, the kindness side of things, I think showed me, and it can show my kids and everybody around us, that there is kindness, there is good, and we can do it. And later, maybe I'll mention an example that happened to me yesterday, but it's a long monologue. I realize that, but what you're doing is outstanding. And I think the support from everybody just amplifies exactly what you're doing and how good it is. So huge compliment to you, and congratulations. And so let's dive into it. So where should we start? So you had this break, and then you started, and the decision was made. Now, where the thought of kindness, why was that the starting point for you?
Okay, so I do need to address the first bit you said, which was the amount of support, right? That seems to be when you dive into this sector of the world, of focusing on positivity and kindness and gratitude to others and compassion. They're all there. There's so much of it going on, and what you just saw was a glimpse of the continuous day-to-day proactiveness of these people. And what I've done is just kind of uncovered the veil a bit and go, what's behind here? And then they've just embraced and been so kind and so thoughtful. And you touched on what Sally said, and that's like the second person sort of say that to me as well, around we're defensively negative first. And we have to be proactive about being kind. And it's sad that it's the case, but we have to be proactively kind and teach it into a habit. The people you saw who didn't just like and run off, didn't just acknowledge that they were there and actually engaged in this post, they have got it embedded inside them, and they have just been the most inspiring and most joyful and happy people I've been able to speak to. And like the first lady I spoke to was Courtney Beck, and she's got this plenty of positivity. And I spoke to her, and I just sat there just grinning, and and just absorbing why she did these things. And every single person I've named on that list and they engaged back, they've all got a story. They've all got something that went, I've had enough of letting the world just do its thing. I'm going to be proactive about being kind. And it's just my time to accept that I want to be kind and I want to be proactive about it. So I've learned some amazing things, and like I say, it was Courtney, and then there was like 3 or 4 others followed after that. And I had this dialogue and these summaries, these conversations with these amazingly inspiring individuals who were just saying enough's enough of watching from the sidelines. And I thought, well, I'm actually sitting on some gem of conversations here that I've recorded and tried to maintain and understand to go back, because I'm a kinesthetic learner with ADHD. So chaos, trying to write notes and pay attention to all at the same time. So thankfully AIs are there to help me. But I started documenting these things, and just I want to share some of the great work. So I'm struggling with the element, and I said it to you before we started, that imposter syndrome of sitting here talking to you about kindness and what I'm trying to do. And actually, I had that imposter syndrome fighting me, going, but you're not half as what the people you've been speaking to are doing. Like, they've been doing this for years. There's a lady in India who's been doing it for 20 years with unlimited kindness, or kindness unlimited. And then we've got communities in Australia and America. And the funniest thing, have you ever watched the movie The Three Musketeers? The old movie, not the fake movie, where just after black and white TV was released, and then the colour came in. And there was a D'Artagnan. He picks a fight with 3 different people in the same day, right? And then he ends up going to have this massive one-on-one fight, one after the other. And what he doesn't realise is he's accidentally picked the 3 Musketeers, which is what he wanted to join. What I was doing was having conversations with beautiful, kind, inspiring individuals all over the world. And then I slowly started going, oh, you're part of this, and you're part of this, and there's a massive network of people proactively being kind and working together. And all I've done is slowly uncovered it from my point of view, and I'm just trying to share it to the world. So where I've come about it, I've had 3 kids, and I don't want to be sat on the side. So a phrase I've been working on in my head that I think best presents it was, when we stand still in the face of a problem, our silence becomes the echo. And I don't want to be silent anymore. I don't want to stand there and let the problem be someone else's to fix.
That's amazing, because often we look for people outside of ourselves to come and fix the problem, but we can actually do it. And I love the fact that you're as open and honest about this imposter syndrome, because one of the things that I want to have on these conversations is just that openness about things, because I think, again, in social media, we often show the shiny side of things, and the reality is very different. And I think it's very human that we have these thoughts and feelings, etc. Maybe we've had a life before that has kind of given us evidence that actually, no, we can't do this, or who are we to do this? But actually, I found, even for myself, having these conversations, you can do it. You got to start small and slow. It can be very overwhelming when you think, oh, these people are way ahead of me, or they know so much more. That doesn't mean you can't join the party and you can't do it in your own way. And you being honest and open, I think, allows other people to be honest and open as well. And that's absolutely okay, because I think when we uncover that, we're all human. And that's, I've often said this, where I am, I'm now in my house in the UK, and it's not a fancy background or whatever, but that's a real conversation. And I think people desperately need that in a world where everything looks shiny or perfect, and our aspirations kind of go along with that. We doubt ourselves so much in that conversation, go, well, how can I make an impact? And so, that, how are you ever going to move when you're fighting already those, sort of voices in your head? But the fact that you've actually done that, and you've moved forward, and you've connected with these people, says a hell of a lot. And I love the fact that you're, one of the drivers for you is about your kids. And I think sometimes, even for myself, I've gone, oh, okay, that's okay, I can accept that for myself. But sometimes when you do something for others, where I've got 2 young kids, and I would do so much more for them than I would do for myself. And it's a great motivator actually to go, okay, yeah, I want a different world for my kids. And I've actually changed more of myself because of my kids than I have ever done before having the kids. I just, I want something amazing for them, and I want them to understand. And the things that I'm learning, I want to share with them, but not to dictate how they should live, but just bring that awareness and that curiosity, and have, ask these questions, because you can move things massively when you're curious and open and feel confident enough to reach out. And you don't have to be confident to have the initial conversation. So I'm quite interested to understand where the first conversation you said you had, and I'm sorry I forget her name, how did that happen? What was you go, right, I'm just gonna look for someone? How did they come into your world?
Well, I don't want to give away all my secrets. I don't want everyone else to do it. No, I'm joking. So that conversation came through social media. I went to LinkedIn and just went kindness in the search box. And I just literally saw who came up, and I just started connecting. And I just reached out to people, dropped them a simple message going, just like to have a no agenda conversation. Because I didn't have an agenda. Even the Splashmaker thing that I've directory, that's not an agenda to have these calls. I'm just then afterwards going, I want to put a small bit of spotlight, if I can, to the 10 people who might follow me. That's hopefully 10 more people to hear about what amazing work you're doing, where you are in the world. So there is no me sat here promising the earth to these people that they have who give up time. But I only offer like a half an hour slot, for example, to have a conversation. And I think only one conversation was a half an hour. And that was because they actually didn't realize I would have given them an hour and a half or 2 hours if they wanted it, and they booked in another call afterwards. They're like, I'm really sorry, I'll have to call you back. And so, and there's a chap there in England. So he was one of the guys who's a guy called Andrew Green. He's focused on kindness into colleges. He's booked in another call with me in December because he didn't realize it was like more than half an hour was available. But other than that, they just flow, and it's so easy. And so, I just kept hunting down literally kindness at the start, and then gratitude and joy and love, and all the fluffy words, we should say. And I just hunted those down, and the amazing amount of people that came back with, not just a thanks for connecting. It was such a great engagement. Thank you so much, and I would love to have a conversation. It was just like blown away with almost the energy coming through their messages and acceptance of a connection request. And it's like, do you fancy a chat? Yeah, absolutely. And they're proactively sticking them in diary. And if I was paid for appointment setting, I would have been smashing it right now, because people are just so engaged and want to have a chat about kindness. They're like, why not? Why wouldn't you want to spend an hour, half an hour, 45 minutes talking about putting some joy in this world? And there's anything we can do to help each other. There's that ongoing saying, you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. And to touch on one of the other points you were talking about earlier, like I've learned from a lady, Dr. Jennifer Fraser from Toronto, on our conversation, like we had a really interesting title. Like, she blew my mind in the first 15 minutes. I was like, I think I need a breather just before you continue. Because I was just like so much, like she focused on neuroscience and did a lot of study on neuroscience. And we were talking about like these masks that are coming off, like take off that mask that you were pretending to be for someone else. And I think for the corporate world, I was doing a lot of the corporate mask wearing. I was different people at home, to my hockey coaching, to my work environment, to my kids. And it's really tiring wearing masks. It's really tiring to put on performances a lot. And I think growing up, I was very, very fortunate. My parents sent me to a very nice school, a boarding school in Bath. I grew up in Saudi Arabia and Dubai. And but there's a couple of like challenges that I'm looking back now with a slightly different lens, which was I actually had quite a lot of loneliness in my boarding career, because I was the only full-time boarder in my year, and I was a sporty nut, and I was obsessed with sport. My year group did not like sports particularly. Like, we didn't really have enough kids to do sports matches for the first 2 years. So I realized there was a lot of masks I started to put on, because I thought I can't try too hard because that's just being rejected. So I actually sort of bottled that side of me up. This world has accepted me openly. Like they're happy. They want people to try hard. They want people to offer to help. And the fact that at the end of the conversation, I'm there going, thank you so much for your time. Before I go, how can I help you? Like the amount of people that are going, do you mean how can you help me? Like, why, what? And it's amazing that they genuinely, we are in a society where sadly not everyone wants to help everyone else. And I'm just being really blessed. I've got a partner who has given me the confidence to take my masks off and given me a safe place to go. She knew me. She knows what's inside. She knows what I want to be, and so I didn't have to perform. And that's, it's like onions. You layer it off. It's not just a straight off band-aid, right? Well, I can be me now, because I might freak her out because my jokes are terrible and my sense of humor is not very good, and so she might just know too much. But it is a confidence thing, and so I've got confidence at home, so I'm filling with kindness inside, which means I've got more kindness to give out. It's that analogy of whatever you put in will come out, in that chimp paradox. If you're aggressive inside, then as soon as someone pushes you, you're going to be aggressive out. I'm just really fortunate that I get kindness at home, so I can give kindness out.
You said so much that I resonate with. I think let's touch on the first one. I spent a lot of my life trying to find the external world to validate the internal world, and I've recently things in recent past sort of changed my. So I was a heavy people pleaser, and I think that very much aligns with the masks. I wore masks to, whenever I walked into a room, if there was someone that was unhappy, I had to validate that they weren't unhappy with me, and that's exhausting because you put all your energy and focus into the wrong thing. It served me in the short term, but long term actually had an impact on a lot of the decisions I led in my life. So unwinding that is quite impactful, and it doesn't happen overnight. But I think I struggled a lot with rejection. So when I started these conversations, it's really strange because I tried to do different things before, and it was always with an agenda of selling or having a conversation that would lead to someone buying a course or my services in some way. And it never landed. I always felt internally quite conflicted. And I know there's loads of people out there who understand sales, etc. And maybe there's something internally about that. But ever since so I think you're aware that I've self-funded this for a year. I have no idea where it's going, what the take-up is or anything. But because I took selling off the table and I just wanted to have conversations, everything, and so that allowed me to stop all this other noise around me, and it just allowed me to go, right, what do I need to do this? And I have never moved so fast in my life. It's just a bit crazy. and I see it going even faster. And so the example being Sally connected us, and I was connected to Sally from a guy called Craig. I don't know if you know Craig. And it was like, okay. And whenever I reach out to people, you can see that they're very hesitant to sort of even have a conversation because they think I'm going to sell something. And because I took that off the table and I just have genuine conversations, and some of those lead to lives, some of them don't. They just lead to me having connections with people, and that's great. There's nothing for me to push someone to have a life other than I think there's a genuine good conversation to have and to share that with more and more people. But in there, I used to think about rejection a lot, as in if someone said no, then it was rejecting me. Yet when it comes to these conversations, it really doesn't bother me. If it's not okay for someone, I don't feel rejected, and I don't want to dig too deep into it because I'm just accepting that it's okay. That's part of the process. But I'm really okay. Whereas I've spent most of my life worried about being rejected. So part of me thinks it's just because I'm enjoying what I'm doing, and I'm absolutely okay to know that people are busy. They've got loads of things on it. It's just not right for them. It's either not right now or it just doesn't align. And that's a great filter. That's, people, aren't aligned to the way I'm thinking or want to have a conversation. And that's absolutely okay. And it lifts this huge burden or this energy or this focus on almost myself, and it allows me to have these conversations. So I think so much of what we do or what we struggle with comes from internal. And I think it's amazing that you've got a partner that has allowed you to take off those masks and unpeel that onion. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So congratulations to your partner as well, but also for you finding that relationship that you feel that you can do that. Not everyone gets to do that, but I think, for me, the point is it starts internally. If you're wearing all these masks internally, when that is outside, you get people with their masks. When you find not at peace necessarily with yourself, it doesn't need to be that you're meditating on a mountainside to be at peace with the world. But when you actually bring some of those barriers down, and yes, it does take time in different ways, it works for other people. You can have conversations, you can move very quickly, and it's strange, the world starts to open up. And it's scary to bring those barriers down. I absolutely understand that. But doing that, it almost sort of sends a message to the universe to go, okay, now I'm going to reflect that back to you, who you are. So for those people that are struggling or looking externally, I would always sort of suggest, and I tried not to give advice, but just look internally. What's maybe you struggling with? What is it, and maybe why is it? And then how can you get past that? And then just try it. It's quite scary. I understand that, that these barriers have been created to protect yourselves. But if you just lower it and just try it a little bit, maybe it's the people around you can help you, or maybe you want to go and seek some conversations with other people. That's fine. But it's not outside in, it's inside out. That's the switch that works for me.
Yeah, and I think you're right. So I have to. A lot of people who are putting heart side kindness at the center of their heart and going, that's one. Look, they also go, but I've got to put it in. If I can't take care of myself, like, okay, forget kindness as it is. If you don't have enough sleep, you don't fill yourself a body with enough energy to do anything, you're just going to collapse. It's the same thing. If you're not filling yourself with kindness, you can't give it out. So you've got to be kind to yourself. And I spoke to this lovely lady, Lynette, in America. She's like, this week I'm going to be self-kind. Like, I'm going to go to I go to a spa at the weekend or a massage at the weekend. But like one of the first things she said she did when she was trying to be self-kind was she bought herself a really nice mattress. And I was like, okay. And then she's like, if I don't sleep properly, then I'm never going to be at my 100% to give out to other people. And so you can be generous to yourself, because it will only, hopefully, if you're then just going to then learn to reflect it back out. And I think one of the things you were talking about there, and this bugs me, so if anyone who's watching this can message me where they've seen this, if they do hear. I saw this clip on LinkedIn probably about 2 months ago now, and there was literally a short clip where it cut into it. It said basically about vulnerability and availability. And we have got this to build a bond or build any sort of potential connection with you and me right now, Colin. Previously, people may have thought I would have to be vulnerable to you to allow you to come in and see what's inside, right? But actually, that's puts a lot of fear and anxiety into people. Whereas actually, I've been sort of picking up on this conversation was about being available. So it's not being vulnerable, it's about being available to someone. So I'm concentrating proactively on any conversation I have with people about being available to them. And that's just the difference. I would say the best analogy I would say is rather than going, here's everything from inside and throw everything on the table and going, right, pick what you want to pick and then come at me and we'll have a conversation and build a bond in that. I'm there going, here's an open door and come on in. I'm open. I'm just open to having a conversation with you. I'm open to seeing where you want this to go. And when we spoke earlier this week, you were there going, I want to stop because I want this to flow as a genuine conversation because you felt there was an open connection. And that is availability rather than vulnerability. And I know I've made mistakes in my life, 100%. Like, and those who say they haven't, then they're probably lying to themselves and you need to take that mask off. But from those mistakes, you learn. And there was, my partner's going to love this. There's this saying that a guy, Simon Sinek said, which he on the podcast he did, of this wabi-sabi. and it's basically it's a Japanese saying for basically imperfect basically pottery. So when they do pottery, for example, it's not perfect every single time. It's wabi sabi, which is basically it's perfectly imperfect. Okay, because it's natural, it's individual, it's perfectly imperfect. And now that saying alone puts a smile on most people's faces. You know, try and say wabi sabi without putting a smile on your own face. But like with diamonds, for example, diamonds are priceless because they're imperfect, they're individual. There is no, like, the man-made ones are like crystal clear and perfect, but that's fake. Like the perfect diamond is totally imperfect, and that's what I think I love about all the conversations I have with people. Is there is heart, there's soul, there's challenges, there's a bit of trauma, there's a bit of a story that's caused them to do something this one night, from someone returning a purse to someone growing up in the center of Brooklyn, and all they remember and focused on remembering was kindness that people gave them. There's a lady in the UK, for example, she was diagnosed with cancer, and it was her partner's ex-wife who gave her a gift of kindness, gave her a gift, and it said basically, I know what you're going through, my parents went through it, so if you ever need anything, I'm there. Like that gesture from an ex-wife of your partner saying, reaching out, like, meant so much. And she said that was a cause of her to go, I'm going to fight this, because there's people out there who will put kindness first. And it was that gesture, that small thing, caused a ripple. And now she's driving kindness into her businesses that she works with. Like that one gesture was that small invisible thing was what caused her to drive and put the kind hive and kindness first into anything that she does. And there's just so many people out there that have amazing stories. And I've just been really blessed and really grateful that they've just been so open and so available to me, and not being hiding, going, what is your agenda? And I'm talking about that whole salesman, like, oh man, I love sales. I love I'm competitive as a sin, right? That's my biggest challenge. Like today I'm going to be really pleasant to anyone I speak to. Tomorrow I'm about to play hockey with my son, and whoever's against me is going to get a beating. And then afterwards, I'll say I'm really, really sorry. And I think you're a really nice guy. And a lot of opposition I've made friends with, actually. But it's normally at the end of the game I've made friends with them. But I just need to win. But I think you can't be kind in everything you do, obviously, because that'd be a bit weird. But I've just been really grateful that when I've had introductions from people, 3 people I've seen introduce me to people who said, by the way, he really doesn't have an agenda. It was really refreshing. And I'm like, we are sold by authenticity. And these people just helped present my authenticity to their friends and their contacts. And when someone does that for you, it's just, wow, it's so kind. Like that. Like if I shared something to you and like, say a friend of mine said, you need to speak to Colin, like I'm doing that because I think you are going to add something to that person's life. And to me, that should be a massive compliment to you. Yeah. And I've had a few people really do that and go, you need to speak to such and such, and you need to speak to such and such. And I'm there going, wow, like you actually think I add value to that. And then when you do connect people, it's so much fun. It's that helper's high, right? It's a really selfish thing, really. If you look at it, like the more people you help, the better you feel inside. So, and yeah, so it's an infectious, contagious thing. And one of there's 2 really nice sayings. Because I run a small business support group, and one of the things we say, like, lift up those, and you too shall be lift up. But you will, you'll never see a candle go out when it lights another candle. So keep lighting other candles.
So it's actually probably a good way. We'll talk about your platform in a second, but because you showed it to me the other day, and hopefully we get to share the screen so people get to see it. But yesterday, what happened? So I'm back in the UK. Had to go to the bank to get some money out, and it was a bit of a last minute thing. I needed to pay for some work on the house, and it was a bit like I couldn't really fit it in, but I was rushing around, and so I had to rush up to the town park, didn't want to get a ticket, so I was rushing around, went to the bank, there was a queue, etc. And I was like really like stressed. Like, then I quickly went into this other shop, and I was like, okay. I came out of the shop, and because it was middle of the day, middle of the week, there was a lot of older people around. That's when they seem to, be happy to go out and shop. There was an older lady, I don't know how old she was, 80s, 90s. She had one of those trolleys which you push in front of you with the 4 wheels.
Yeah.
And I sort of went to go past her, and because I was rushing, and I realised that she'd got like a stick caught in her wheel, and I could see it, and it just took me 2 seconds to look, and I was like, oh, and then I stopped, and I realised that it was like a thorn, like stick with thorns, and it got caught in the front of her wheel, and I just stopped and I just pulled it out, and it was a bit harder than I thought, and I did it, and she was so happy. We had a brief, as in a few seconds. She said, oh, I didn't know what that was, and she said, I said, oh, it was a thorn. I said, I hope you don't get a puncture, which I don't think those trolleys do. And I was like, and she just smiled, this brilliant smile. She was a bit hunched over originally, but she just smiled, and I was like, and I felt amazing about myself. And it was like, and that's the thing, so first of all, I was like, congratulations, Colin, because you stopped when your brain's going a million miles an hour, being quite selfish to think, okay, I've got to do this. So there's a lot of noise going on in my head. I've got to get back to the car before I get a ticket, etc. You stopped, and that interaction probably took 30 seconds, if that.
Yeah.
And I helped a lady out. She gave me the most beautifulest smile. She was happy that someone had helped her out, because she would have had to bend down, or it would. And you know what? It's this weird concept of, I know that I helped her, but I really helped myself, and I just felt amazing. And at that point, everything slowed down. I went, it doesn't matter, absolutely. And I was like, yeah, it's fine, it's okay. And I was like, wow, maybe that's the only conversation that lady has had today, or oh, she's a lovely lady. And because you've said it before, and about this ripple, and you're like, oh, maybe she's going to be happier today. Maybe that's the only interaction she's had. Mate, I have no idea, and it doesn't matter. But I felt amazing about myself. And so it seems selfish, but by doing something, you help someone else, but you also help yourself. I felt good about myself. And I was like, and we'll talk about your platform in a minute. And I was like, oh, maybe I'd put that into James's platform. And I was like, I don't need to do that. But it was like this moment, and in just like a busy world. And it took 30 seconds. And it was like, oh. And so she's impacted, I'm impacted. What a great thing for 30 seconds of your day, when I waste 30 seconds, scrolling or doing something that I shouldn't be doing. And I was like, yeah. And it takes, we often think kindness takes a huge effort, when actually it's so simple. And I don't know where it came from, but I think obviously the conversation we'd had about kindness anyway, and I think I've always been brought up to think of others, etc. But wow, I felt amazing, and the rest of my day just went amazing. I was like, yeah, got back to the car, there was no stress, felt good. I felt like this warm glow inside of me. So I wrestled with it. I was going, should I be feeling that good about it? Is this about me, or is it about her? It doesn't really matter. You've done something great, but the ripple effect is she goes, oh, someone was kind, someone stopped and helped me. I didn't have to bend down. That doesn't matter. Whatever that ripple effect is, it doesn't matter. But we think it might not have an impact, but I'm sure it does. But I don't need to know what it is. I felt good, and I'm sure she must have felt good as well.
Yeah, the challenge is you probably only seen it as one, whereas actually there's two things there. So you've done the pulled out the twig, right? But you've also seen her. And that's one of the key things, which is so easy to do, like smiling at someone, engaging with an eye contact, like just being seen. Like the amount of people I've seen so often go into a cafe, for example, or a restaurant, or a Saturday, even at a table, and the waiter's ordering, like they don't engage, they order. They don't engage and have a conversation. And obviously for the British people here on listening to this podcast, wherever, there's the northern side of our country. They love to chat. And then there's the southern side. We don't. And so for my uncle, for example, he moved down here, and he moved into the same village as my parents and my sister for a bit. And my sister said to me at one point, it's like you can tell Brian's here, because all the mums and stuff that were dropping their kids off the bus stop were talking about this guy who just kept saying hi to them every morning, was chatting away. He was northern, whereas southern people, like, we were like, don't talk to people, don't get. Yeah, it's basically the London Tube on steroids, right? We just don't want to engage too much. Whereas northern people, it's like love, and I love making eye contact. I love talking to people in the village, and I don't know 90% of them by name, but they probably know my dog, and they probably know my daughter and my kids, and they probably know me because I'm that weird guy that always says hi to them and a happy morning to them, even when it's chucking down with rain. But just being seen is so important. And you're right, like those two things that why you were probably glowing was, one, you did a really good deed of pulled that out where she probably couldn't get down to do it, right? The second was you took time to see her, and that didn't cost you anything. That didn't take up more than 30 seconds. But then you've also gone, you've now got that help us high kick again because you're talking about it again. So the fact you brought it up again, you've now got a double dose from one act of kindness and two acts of kindness that what happened yesterday. And I know I'm not plugging my platform here, but like, the reason I created this platform was kindness has to be taught as a habit. And it takes about 10,000 times. This wasn't, maybe it's an urban myth when I was a kid, but when I was taught sport, you have to do a skill 10,000 times before it becomes automatic. Imagine that as a habit. Imagine kindness has got to be done 10,000 times before it becomes automatic into your head. And it's great fun because you're there going, oh, that was really easy for 30 seconds. It's great fun trying to find things to be kind about, or try to, like, showing gratitude to someone is kind. Acknowledging someone's gift to you. Like, I'm thanking you for what you did yesterday, because that's really important. I want you to be that positive reinforcement about you did something really good. That lady, the rule of three that we're working off on our platform, will have impacted. So your one act will impact three people. It'll be her and probably the next two people she sees. She'll probably even mention, like, let's say she talks to her grandkids or her daughter or son or whatever, or a family member. Like, there was a really nice guy who actually stopped and pulled this thing out, and we had a nice little chat, and it'll mean the world. Like, I used to, my grandma, bless her soul, passed away a while ago. Like, we used to have this. I used to say "tra love" in a really pathetic kid's accent because I was really, really young, right? But she used to always say, every time I rang her up, or every time I used to leave the house when I came back to Blackburn for a bit, that was my northern roots, from the Middle East. We come back to Blackburn to see her and stuff. And every time I left the house, I was always go, oh, tra love, and that's my best northern accent. And she always just say, oh, you've made my day. And it was just that was small little act of me being a childish little idiot and trying to put on a northern accent and say her favorite phrase, was a small act of kindness that just made her day. And she used to always say, like, how much it impacted her. And I'd always hear it from her neighbours, like, oh, she loves when you say tra love. And it's just took 30 seconds. And I suppose all these little bits in my life, I just realized I probably need to be really proactive about it. And I think the challenge I had for so long was, what can I do? I think that was the biggest blocker for me. Like, what am I going to do with little old Whitley and in the small little county of Wiltshire, actually quite a big county. Like, what can I do that's going to impact anything, like do anything? And there's a book, The Boy, the Mole, the Fox and the Horse. And it's got it's basically just got a book of gem quotes. But Charlie Mackesy, if you haven't seen it or read it or whatever, sorry, it's brilliant. And it's got loads of nuggets in it. But one of the quotes that I really liked that probably resonated with me was the horses obviously talking books, right? So the boy was standing at the edge of these dark woods, and he says to the horse, like, I can't see a way through. And the horse says to the boy, like, can you see your next step? And the boy says, yeah. He said, just take that one. And that's probably where I sat and was like, I couldn't see a way through. I couldn't see what I could do. I couldn't see why little on me or why anyone would want to listen to me, which is where it comes back to full circle here on the imposter syndrome. Why would anyone want to listen to me? I thought, well, actually, I'll just take that next step. My next step was, let's bed yourself in kindness. Let's learn what being kind means to the other people in the world. Let's find out why people are really pushing it hard. And so I just took my next step and the next step and then the next step. And that's where I went from conversation to splash makers to having, like, now being on a podcast and stuff like that. So you just have to take the next step. And the world is not that big. We just put it so much bigger in our minds. And I'm a big picture thinker, right? With kinesthetic learning, ADHD. I had to just go, I just need to take my next step and go, I've got support. And as you rightly said yesterday, I shared some names of some amazing people doing inspiring things. And wow, they were jumping on that bandwagon straight away and showing love and care and kindness. And that's the world I found myself in. And I'm just so privileged that they've been so welcoming. Because there's projects going on all over. It's just been inspiring, and I can't not get excited about waking up each day going, who am I going to speak to? What's their story today? And who's uncovered, and who's connected to who, and who could I connect to someone else? And then you find that they are kind of knowing each other, or they don't know each other, and they're grateful for that and grateful for that. And the world's a really, really great place if you ignore the noise. And I guess I've been that try hard, want to please, people pleaser in the wrong world, maybe. And I think I've found a place where those characteristics really are warmed to and welcomed. So if my simple task for the next number of years, whilst I build up my software and everything like that, and can have, I suppose, the funds to do more with these two startups, I'm just going to be the biggest cheerleader for some amazing human beings out there. And that's I'm fine with that, because I'm definitely not so comfortable doing this because I feel more of a radio star potential than a film star. But, you know, you were very polite and very kind, and you've done a great job in doing what you do. So I was, when you said you want to go live, I was like, just say yes, let's crack on. You're doing a great job. So I was happy to be part of it.
I thank you for that. But I love the idea about the just take the next step. And I think why that resonates with me is that I always lived in the future. I always thought, when I get here, I will be like this, etc. And I signed up for a lot of external things, courses, etc., to say setting goals. But the problem for me setting goals was that I set the wrong goals. I set goals that people would give an example, and I couldn't set a goal for myself. And so I would set these wildly inappropriate goals, often based around money. And I was like, and strangely enough, none of those ever worked. So it's like, oh, okay. And but now I live more in the present. I focus. I generally don't think too far ahead. I go about 2 weeks, and I know probably people will say that's a bit crazy, but that's as far as I go, because that allows me to look at what's in front of me. One of those things is the kids, because it's easy to get in my head and say, oh, okay, yeah, I need to do this, this, and this. But it takes me away from the actual thing that I want to do, is be a good dad and be present and have a great relationship with my kids. And the world can change very quickly. And again, stuff in my past, I had plans and then they're turned upside down, and those plans are absolutely nothing. So I know goals are good, but for me personally, I just go, okay, let's see where it takes me. You know, I have no plan for this. I've given myself a time limit of the end of July, August, when all money runs out, and you know, and then I've got to find plan B. But I don't have a plan B yet. I'm not thinking about it. And when those things come in, I push them away and just go, no, look, just focus on the thing that you enjoy doing. And the reason I enjoy it is because I kind of connect with it. And I think once you connect with that thing, again, things just move and synchronicities happen. And you've mentioned it quite a few times, you know, just, okay. But look, I had no idea that I would ever get to speak to someone like you. And I had no idea that those platforms that you've created even exist. So I started this, I think it was about September time. No, August time. I had no idea. And things just moved very quickly. But if I'd have planned that out in my mind or thought that far ahead, none of this would have happened. And I just go, okay, I'm going to have these conversations. I plan these and I go roughly 2 weeks in advance. That's about it, because the world changes, twists and turns, and it's so revealing. So for those of people, absolutely, I get the purpose of goal setting and, like you say, big picture thinking, but that can also be quite overwhelming, especially for me. And if your goal is in the wrong direction, or you're putting your ladder up against the wrong wall, it can be very frustrating, because you're just climbing up a ladder and you get there and you go, what? Whereas for me, I just try and just put that first step forward, and that's it reveals so much. So you don't need to know what it is. I think the fact that you've connected to something fundamental, the kindness, and you've done that introspection of sort of saying, well, what can I do? And when you say little old me, and it's strange, because I see you very different. I see you much on a much grander scale, because what you've done and how you've done it is mind-blowing. And I know you're just in the start of it, so it's easy to think, oh, what someone else's way is the right way, but it's what's right for you and how you can work that out. So I want to just flip to the platform, because I'm conscious of time, and we've gone amazingly. But the reason I want to go to the platform, so you created this foundation is trying to be registered as a charity at the moment. So you've got to jump through a few hoops, I would imagine, to get that. And that charity does what, and where does the platform sit within all of that?
So the All We Can Foundation was set up to provide a place to support large acts of kindness and to promote kindness. Our platform is so the weird thing, we're not doing anything for money. It's not. So I'm giving the platform away to anyone who wants. Like, you can say, you can sign up, create a platform, create your own login, and we're giving it to schools, communities. Sally, for example, she's got her drama community on there, but we're giving it away to schools, and so we trialed it with a school at the moment, and I can show you how that's going on the map in a second, if you like. But it's just a basic free place that they can go, and the kids can start learning the importance of habitual kindness. So putting it in early, and that's where they'll grow up embedded into their systems, that kindness is something they need to look for. Kindness is something they need to practically do. And they've obviously, on the back of those kindness bits, it's also showing gratitude. And so the other thing about kids is they love stickers, they love certificates, they love making an impact. And so what we've done with our platform is created an opportunity where they can see the impact they're physically making. So go back to that I said earlier, being a kinesthetic learner, I'm visual, and I know I'm not alone in that. And so I believe I saw something like 85% of people potentially are visual learners. I could be wrong, so do not quote that properly. Do your research in advance. But there is a high percentage of people who are visual learners, right? So so kids will actually use the platform, and where I've seen feedback from the school using, like, the kids are enjoying going, well, that one's mine. And they can then share their friends, they can tell your parents. And then that's that ripple effect even there, just sharing about what we're doing here. They're sharing, I did kindness, I did kindness, I did kindness. And we've been so built up around being, it's shameful in the UK to be kind. And where I love this, so I've come at it, I thought when I say embedding myself in kindness, well, the amount of American people where they're just so proud of going, I am going to be kind, and that's okay. Whereas in England, I found that people I've spoken to, it feels like they kind of have to go against their natural grain. It's like, I can't, no, I shouldn't be kind, but I'm going to have to be proud to be kind. And I think we've just been embedded in ourselves in the UK, certainly, that you shouldn't be proud of being kind. Don't tell people about that. You have to be recognized for it, and let someone else tell you you're kind. Actually, no, just go be kind. Just do something for someone else, and just be happy. Like, look at the smile you said when you said about that little old lady. Like, just be happy about it. Like, the one story, and I'll show you that in a second. I was in Bath, and I went out for a really nice meal with a colleague, actually, and I felt really bad. We bought these things called Ben's cookies in Bath. There's Ben's cookies. Have you ever heard of them? Amazing. Anyway, they're amazing. Product placement. I wish they were sponsoring me, but they don't. But anyway, these Ben's cookies are awesome. And I sat there, and we got this massive box, and I thought, I'm going to take some back to my partner. And walking down, I saw this guy on the street, and I thought, I've just had a really nice meal with these massive cookies, and I'm about to bite into it, and he's struggling for anything. So I was like, right, I'm going to offer him a cookie. and see if he wanted it. Anyway, he didn't want a cookie, but so it was okay. You're fine. I had my cookie. But I just had to sit down and chat with him for like a minute or two. And my friend Molly was standing there with me, and I was just engaged with him. I was just eye to eye, having a chat to him, see how he was. Anyway, we ended up going for a longer chat. I took him to go and get a drink because he couldn't eat. His teeth were rotten through, and then I'll go into the life story on a bit later. But when I came back, I was walking away, and it was just really nice to have a genuine conversation with him and talk to him about his life and the fact he came from the Forest Dean and all this sort. I was walking back with my friend after she looked after his stuff while we went to get a drink. We're walking back, and she's like, "That was really nice of you." I was like, "Well, he's a guy, he's a person, like." And everyone just walks past him and throws him a couple of coins. She's like, "Yeah, but what you didn't see was everyone was staring at you." I was like, "What?" She goes, "Everyone was staring, and you can see them admiring you. So your act, where I was just focused on him, was impacting 30 or 40 people that walked past the centre of Bath that day, going, someone actually paused to speak to him." And like, that's what I mean about being invisible. I wasn't doing it to see other people. I was doing it because I felt like he needed someone to talk to for a minute. And kindness is often gone invisible, and especially I feel like in the UK we often maybe need to show a bit more visibility of it, and that's where the platform came in. So yeah, I can share it if you want.
Yeah, perfect. While you're sharing it, I think I love that, and we seem to have this shame around doing kind things, or the fact that we can't accept compliments, or there's a whole load of things around that. But it's amazing, and we use the word ripple, and it's part of what you talk about. But we can't always see what the ripple effects are of these things, and it shouldn't be that we're looking for them. But if you want some awareness or some way to continue to be kind, you can look for them and you can see them. So yeah, I think you've said so much in terms of culturally, we're not necessarily in the UK people that want to show that we're being kind. It seems sort of shameful, but actually, if we can get past that, there's a huge win for everybody around that. And again, just thinking about that guy, he's probably the most interesting person. Like you said, there was a life story, there's a load of things about him. Yeah. And again, he felt seen for that day, and that you cared about him, and that can make a huge impact to him, and he can pass that on to other people that he knows. And what a great thing. And that just started with a moment of kindness, and that's but the thing is, when you were saying, oh, people were watching you, I also thought, how would I feel? And I would probably feel a bit bad about myself to go, oh, well, I'm not the person actually going to sit with someone. I would maybe be the person that puts maybe a coin in. But then I was like, but it would make me feel maybe enough ashamed that next time I am that person. And then you create this movement of, okay, you do it. So again, it's not the immediate thing. It's often things behind it, or you think of something, you put a little seed of knowledge or something in your mind that next time, okay, when I'm not so rushed, or maybe that wasn't the right moment, but maybe next time I do see someone, okay, spare a moment. And so it has many angles to it, right?
Yeah. There's a guy called Neil Stevens who I had a conversation with. He was really, really nice, really clever, switch on guy. He does a lot around kindness, and he has a phrase that stuck with me. So I had to quote him and credit him, but so it's not about me. He said, "Do it for the cause, not the applause." And we are needing to plant these seeds with people, and that's really important. But I didn't do the act because I wanted 30 people to go look at me. I did the act because I really wanted to find out what this guy's story was. And I I'm probably really annoying to be with sometimes, because I just do love hearing about people's stories, like talking to people. If you ever want a quick journey, I'm probably the wrong person to go with. Because if I can chat to someone, I'll chat to someone. Like you're there going, we're running out of time. I'm there going, I've got another 45 minutes, we can crack on. But the listeners probably don't want 45 minutes more of me. So I'll give a quick glimpse of this. And so this is our platform that my cousin in Toronto has kindly helped me build and bring out. So we do a rule of one act of kindness assumption it impacts 3 people. So and that's been kind of backed up by a lovely lady called Robin Simpson from Australia. She did a load of research on this as well. And the rule of 1 to 3 was right. But there's also been university studies in Harvard and one in Berlin, I think, university, where it was at 1 in 10. But I just think 1 to 10 is probably too much for people to believe. So if you did 1 act of kindness to 1 person, we'd expect it to ripple onto 3 people. That's them and 2 others. But they're neglecting the fact it also impacts you. Like you just talked about that act yesterday. So from the 211 acts we've had on our platform so far by different people, communities and schools, it's impacted 6,000 people and it's touched the lives of 19,000. So that's the rule of 1 to 3. And we've made it to 20 countries so far. So what people can do, they can share an act of kindness in their own way, share an act of kindness of one they've witnessed, and then they can do it as groups. So let's just go in here. I can do it as my own. So I can submit it as my own if I want to with my own name. Or I can submit it anonymous if I don't want people to know it's me because it's not a vanity project. What it was, put out my neighbour's bins. I live on a street of lovely, lovely older people who go on numerous number of holidays, and quite often it's bin week, so I often get asked to put the bins out. So that's probably quite a regular one for me. And then what it was, and so I put a description about it, yet again, elderly neighbours off on holiday, I'll put the bins out. And it was an individual act or community project, school initiatives or businesses, and then how many people it helped, so 1 or 2. And then I type in where it was, so Whitley, and then it'll eventually come up with it, so you can put in what you want. And then after that, you can submit your act of kindness, and then it goes to our kindness map. And now these are the acts we're building together. So you will then start making an impact on the world. So simple things like buying a random person a coffee, someone has done here. So there's not massive gestures. Again, it's just about educating, visualizing kindness, and helping educate habit of kindness. So the best example here where it's been working to schools. So this is Selwood Academy in Frome. They're our pilot school. This is their acts of kindness that they've been working on as classes. So on a Monday and a Friday, they do assemblies, sort of recognition assemblies, and they pick out a couple of acts of kindness. And then it's just different things done by different people. So helping people in need, quick action for pupils, help win a class who would be knocked out with, maybe shouldn't pick that one out, knocked out by basketball. That's quite violent, but kids came to the rescue, so all is okay. I will go and check now for that child is okay. Good sportsmanship, rugby game, checked on injured person. Wow, it's a violent school. I picked out the wrong ones. But they are thinking about obviously witnessing it as well as the acts themselves. But talking to, actually, I caught up with a lady who's leading on this project for their school. And she's just like, the kids are really engaged in kindness and they really love the fact they're making an impact. And the teachers are also finding that the community, their feel within the school classrooms is improving because they're looking to find the witnessed acts of kindness. They're looking to do acts of kindness because there is an element of recognition. So it's kind of gamification. But it's not making them lose the purpose, and it's still educating, being kind to one another on a regular basis will help them go further, because it makes them a more in-depth personality. People want to be around kind people; they don't want to be around bullies, and so it's worked out to be kind of a free anti-bullying product, but that's not what it was designed for. We're giving this away to schools and communities as our act of kindness to the world, basically. So and it shows a ripple effect.
It's and this is, you actually showed me this before, and this is one of the things that moved me because I believe I didn't really realize it for myself, but I'm quite visual. Because when we talk, it's great and we share information, but we can't often translate it to what that actually looks like in real life. But this visual in itself, and the fact of the way it's done, is just like this spiral of, like in the ripple, and it gave me goosebumps. And when I saw it again, I was like, yeah, that's the thing. And that, you know, it's concentrated in one area, and that's coming in the school, and you can tell me the origins of that. And it's not that you need to know every single thing about that, but you go, oh, okay, and then you'll see that impacted, right? Because there might be a kid that signs up and does that at home, and you can see that home and how that grows. And what I fundamentally love about this is that, you know, and it goes back to pretty much the first sort of part of our conversation, is that, you know, social media, you know, the world seems like it's upside down on all these problems. Yes, there are problems in the world. I'm not absolutely ignoring that. I don't allow a lot of that negativity in my world, and I try and block it. Sometimes I think that's a good thing, sometimes it's not. But we also need to see the kindness, because the kindness will win out. But we need to see that on a visual perspective, because, you know, kindness, yes, it does get a headline in the news, but it's always one of those stories that's later on. You know, it's not the headliner of the news. It will be something that, you know, is a catastrophe or a crisis or something that gets more people's attention. So you have to fight even harder to get something like this out there and seen. But when I see it, and I honestly, I keep looking at the picture, I'm just like, yeah, and it brings me back to this point of, yeah, there's a school, there's these things happening, there's kids thinking about kindness, all of those ripple effects. And, you know, you can't capture all of that, but you're doing such a good job in a platform. And the fact that you can zoom out and you can see this around the world is so, so beautiful. And I absolutely adore it. And I think, you know, starting from a young age with school kids, that doesn't mean this isn't applicable to absolutely everyone. Like you said, Sally's doing this, but I think if you can start at a younger age about kindness, you know, etc., and, you know, what that actually means, because I think, like you say, with social media and kids and this bombardment of all this stuff coming in, you know, and we've got to be a perfect way, it can switch the focus to, okay, I can do something and it's kind. And like you say, the gamification, and you've really thought so hard and in depth about how this works, and you know, what it could mean, and you've done that in such a beautiful way. And I absolutely adore it. I absolutely adore it. And so I guess the question is, how do you want to grow that? Is that about marketing it? Should we share that? What's, you know, again, we're talking about visions and stuff, but yeah.
So you did say about goals, not saying, I do love goals, by the way. Not just hockey goals that I like scoring, but goals in general I do like to have. But where I have started my reflection a lot more, and I guess maybe that's a bit more of my faith coming into it, but I've kind of started to think I've got to enjoy the journey. I always wanted to get to the goal, and it kind of just like a mad dash. And I'm now kind of going, no, I just need to enjoy the journey more. Like, so yeah, I do have ambitions. I do have great targets in my life that I want to achieve. And along the way, it's just been like, how can I show generosity? And I put a post out not so long ago, but like, have you ever met an unhappy, generous person? I haven't. Yeah. And I just think if I can be more generous and think about my journey more, and think about what I can do every single day, rather than racing to this goal, I'll feel better. And where I want this to go, I've been going daily. I've been thinking, how can I help someone, bring it up in conversations. I've spoke to so many people who've got communities like, say, Robin in Australia. There's a Juliana who's got one, the Kind Power. There's a gentleman called Kevin Smith who's got the Kindness Worldwide. There's Charles Fowler who's got the World Values Alliance. There's so many different things going on, the communities going on. I've offered it to them, and it's just a matter of time, right? It's up to them. It's not going to be forced on them. But yeah, how to market it, I don't know. We don't know. If anyone knows any schools that would like to have a free platform that will help them hopefully educate kindness. Like we all say yesterday, we talked about a really clever way. So the lady's got about 70 or 80 that she wants to add to the platform. She says, I just haven't got the time to do it. Like they've now built up, because they've done this kindness box, and they've done this not kindness spotters card that I give out. So you can do a little, I've spotted someone, you put it in the kindness box, and then they've been picking it out for the achievements. She's like, I've got 6 or 17 more to add. And I was there going, do you do detentions? And she goes, yeah. It's like, well, why don't you just get the kids who are in detention to, during detention, type up all these kind acts? And she's like, huh. Yeah, so we would like spitballing ideas. So the kids, whilst being punished, will be now typing up acts of kindness. And so they'll be proactively having to fill in things that are good in life and things that people have witnessed in life. They're being embedded kindness constantly. And I have to say, a little bit chuffed with my idea. So I've been smug about that for the last 24 hours. But like,
I think you have every right to feel smug about that. That is pure genius on so many levels. So yeah.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So so I think I'm just going to try and just offer it and tell people about it, and where it goes, it goes. There's no wild ambitions for this. Just
so again, I'm conscious of time because I tried to keep these limited, but I definitely think there's so much more to explore in all of this. So maybe we come back and do a round 2. But 2 things I kind of want to sort of say. So there are a lot of people put comments on this chat, and I don't normally overlay them, but there's Lady Jane.
Lady Jane from Nigeria.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know. So there's a Lynn, there's loads of comments. So I don't put them on because sometimes there's a distraction from the actual conversation. But for those that are still watching, thank you so much for the comments. Maybe I can bring them up. Let's see. So I don't know. Can you see that? Does that work for you?
Yes, I can. I could see some of them.
Yeah. So I don't know if technology's not my bestest friend. But,
is there anything that needs to be answered?
I don't.
Lynn, I've got to say hello to Lynn. Lynn's lovely. She's got a charity in the UK helping provide gift kindness bags, small acts of kindness, but it's kindness bags to people, elderly people, especially this time of year with like blankets and scarves and gloves and hats who are cold and vulnerable. We spoke last week. Beautiful lady. She's such a big heart. So definitely shout out to Lynn in the UK there.
So we've got
but Lady Jane is awesome, by the way. You need to try and get her on here. She's fantastic. She's an absolute bundle of joy, energy, and she's working respect with kindness in Nigeria. But she's had some time in the UK as well, where kindness was not the word she would have taken away necessarily. But thankfully it found a way to her heart, and she's now doing good to others, and it's awesome. But I don't know if I could see any others, sorry.
Yeah, so there's Paula. I'm very bad.
Paula Motka. Very old friend. We did tennis lessons together, and we never actually did any tennis because I used to make her laugh, and then I got told off making her laugh. So our tennis coach just basically made us laps. So our parents were like, "Why have we paid for lapping the court?" So,
so we've got a Matilde and Lynn as well. So we don't have necessarily the time to run through them, and I'll take the comments so I can just. The only problem with the format is it cuts half of your face off on my so I'll take them off. But for those that have attended, thank you so much. And I that's more than I've had people participate. So again, this compliment I'm going to throw back to you. So when that imposter syndrome throws up, James, absolutely know that these people are showing up for you, and they're not showing up because there's nothing there. They truly believe there's something absolutely amazing, as do I. So you feel that you've done me a favor. I feel that you've done me an even bigger one by doing what you're doing, coming on here. Like you said, maybe it's not the platform that you think, maybe radio would be better for you. I disagree. I think you're actually very, very good on camera. And I think sometimes that's uncomfortable, but if we can challenge ourselves and put ourselves on camera, because the more people I come across, they don't think they do come across well on camera. I don't believe that is actually the exact opposite when they say that. And I'm like, where did you get that mindset from, because it's the opposite.
Negative first. It's negative first.
Yeah,
Defense
absolutely. So
mechanism.
I'm going to call that out and say, yeah, that's BS, because I think you're amazing on camera. So, James, I'm going to wrap up. Honestly, it touches my heart what you're doing. It's a real pleasure. Best place for people to find you is where? LinkedIn, website? What do we do?
Yeah. So LinkedIn on there. As it's not, if you haven't worked out already, always open to a conversation. And as I say, collaboration is the best form of attack. You got my website, allwecan.co. So you can on that. We've got All We Can Foundation on Instagram and on Facebook. But yeah. So I'm always open for a chat if people want to have a conversation offline or online in a more private setting. Then yeah, I'd be well up for that.
Okay. And for the platform themselves, that's All We Can. Is that?
Yeah. So www.allwecan.co. So yeah, not .com. That was going to cost me 10 grand, and I have not got that out of my pocket.
Yeah, so, maybe someone will fund that one day for you. So
yeah. It's owned by someone who wanted 10 grand for it. I was like, okay, that's fine. I have not. Maybe
yeah. So I will. So this basically gets streamed to LinkedIn. I will repost this with all of those links, and so then people can easily follow you. That's super important. So obviously follow what you're doing, and then join in. This goes to YouTube for those people that didn't get to watch it live. It's sometimes easier to go onto YouTube because LinkedIn can, shows you something, then disappears instantly. So sometimes if you want to follow the whole conversation, there was so much depth in this. And I think, we kind of just scratched the surface on some of those things. We went deep on others, but it makes me want to go outside and look for kindness. So, and I think that's really the purpose of what you're doing. And even if that's to make myself feel better, I'm okay with that, because it's going to have that ripple effect. And James, I'm going to end it there, because I'm just going to keep gushing these compliments otherwise. So that'll be another hour. So thank you again. Thank you for those who commented and supported all of this. But James, thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm going to be a big fan. I'm going to be a big supporter. I'm going to push it wherever I can. And we go from there. And we're definitely going to do a round 2. I want to see where the journey takes us and maybe dig into some of those other topics.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Colin. It's been it's been very calm chat, and I enjoy that. No pressure on it. So I say if there's some value to anyone who's listened, then that's a win for me. But I do need to do Kindness Avengers to my friend Neil, who really wants that to catch on. So I say Kindness Avengers. I don't know why. Okay. I feel really cheesy inside now that I've done that, but that was for him. So it's not about me. Okay. He wants this to catch on. So I was like, okay.
It's a movement now, is it?
No, it's now it's me. Well, there's loads of movements. It's just trying to get them together.
Okay.
Together we're stronger. But yeah.
Okay. I'll be looking out.
Colin, thank you. Yeah. Kindness Avengers. Go for it.
All right, I'll do it for him. There you go.
There we go. Awesome.
There you go. You got 2 of us doing it.
If he doesn't message me straight after this, then I'll be disappointed then.
Fantastic. Well, have a great day. Have a great weekend. We'll be in contact for a round 2. I'm going to be an avid supporter and following you on Instagram and your platform. I'm based in Luxembourg, so if I can push that out there, I don't have a lot of contacts out there, but again, this audience, hopefully, they see this and, they'll sign up, because I think, starting in schools and growing that out is such a fantastic idea. So, I'll see what I can do from my side, definitely.
Colin, you're a star. Thank you so much. Any help will be
Thanks, James.
Greatly appreciated. See you later.
All right. Take care. Bye.